Hi everyone, my name is Sascha, and today we're going to be reading a great book that's called Little by Little by Amber Stewart and Lane Marlowe. Before we begin, a great thank you to Scholastic and Orchard Books for publishing this wonderful piece of literature. Now, before diving into the book, let me pose a question for you. Has there ever been a time when you felt that you couldn't do something? There was a skill that maybe you wanted to do, but you couldn't? How did that make you feel? How did you deal with the problem? These are certain things that we can take into consideration when reading about little Otto. Now let's begin. Otto was making a list, and I can do list and I can't do list. The can do side was much longer. On it was forward roly-poly, backward roly-poly, being kind to frogs, mudsliding, making very good sand castles, slippery rock hopping. The can't do side was shorter. It just said swimming. Otto, are you going to swim today? Asked Beaver. No, said Otto. Not at all? Asked Bear. Not even a little? Otto sighed and went home. Don't listen to Bear and Beaver, said his mommy when Otto told her. Little by little, you will learn to swim. Otto decided he would have to keep trying. Sometimes, Otto would pretend he could swim, but really, he was hopping, very, very quickly along the riverbed. Other times, he would run along the riverbank, trying not to be left behind by his friends as they spun and tumbled through the water. But most days, Otto would simply sit on his favorite slippery rock, wishing and wishing from his whiskers all the way down to his toes that he could swim. Every day, his mommy would say, "Today's the day," and every day, it wasn't. Now, if you were in this situation, the same situation as Otto, and you were having difficulty doing something, and you just thought you couldn't do it, how would that make you feel? Would you keep trying? Let's find out and see what Otto does. Then, one sunny day, Otto and his sister were watching their friends jumping off the highest ever rock into the deepest ever pool below. You have got to start small, his sister said. Small, said Otto. Yes, small, she said. Come on, today's the day to start small. That's how I did it when I learned to swim. So, Otto started small. He hopped along the riverbed, keeping his toes off the bottom just that little bit longer every time. Then he did higher hops with floating in between. The next day, Otto did floating without holding on to anything, and pretty soon he was kicking all the way to the halfway stone. A few days later, Otto splashed and kicked and swam the whole width of the river, from one bank to the other, all by himself. And little by little, that width became the length of the river from Otto's den to the deepest ever pool. Before long, the splashing and kicking turned into gliding, and roly-polies on the riverbank became underwater tumbling. When he was ready, Otto invited his friends and family to come see his big surprise. With everyone gathered along the riverbank, Otto jumped off the highest ever rock into the deepest ever pool. I did it, said Otto to his sister. I can really swim. You really can, laughed his sister, hugging her very wet little brother. You see, you started small and you finished big. The end. Now, do you know what the main problem in this story was? Right. The problem was that Otto wished he could swim with his friends, but he was having trouble. And do you know why Otto eventually learned to swim? That's right. It's because he didn't give up and he kept trying. Little by little, he accomplished his goal. Never give up. You can always do it. This book was called Little by Little. I'm Sascha. Thank you very much.